Alright, class. So we are going to talk about document D. And the essential question, don't forget, is what were the main causes for the fall of Rome? Okay? So let's see what this document tells us about the fall of Rome. So I see here it is an excerpt, like just a little segment about an Asian tribe called the Huns. So we're talking about the Huns, and they are a group that invaded the Roman Empire, and they kind of helped bring one of the tribes that helped the empire fall. Okay, the Romans, they were invaded by barbarians, as they call, and a lot of times when they talk about barbarians, we're talking about many tribes, but also the Huns. Okay, and you have an image here. They come from Mongolia, and they're really good with horses. And they had like a nomadic way of life, so they didn't live in cities. They were kind of just roaming around. So let's see. It talks about the Huns from the book called Roman History by the Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus in 380 of the Common Era. So after Christ, that's when this book was written. So the Huns, this group of people, exceeded any definition of savagery, like wild. So they were more wild than one person could imagine. They have compact, sturdy limbs. Limbs is like arms and legs. And thick necks. Although they have the shape of human beings, they are so wild in their way of life that they have no need of fire or pleasant tasting foods, but they eat the roots of uncultivated plants, so like plants that we don't usually cook, and the half raw flesh of all sorts of animals. So this author is describing them as wild people, eating raw flesh, eating roots of just random plants, and they don't need fire, they don't need pleasant tasting foods. So he's trying to portray them as really wild animals, okay? So eat the raw, half raw flesh of all sorts of animals. This they place between their thighs and the back of their horses, and so warm it a little. So that's how they cook the animals, I guess. They put on the horse and they heat it up that way. So they need a lot of food or a lot of fire to cook that. Huns are never sheltered by buildings, so you don't see the Huns on a building of their own. But they roam freely. They run anywhere they want, in the mountains and woods, learning from their earliest childhood to endure freezing cold, hunger, and thirst. Of course, they're nomadics. That's what they do. They don't live in cities. They learn with nature. Huns are not well adapted to battle on foot, but are almost glued to their horses. So, meaning, I think you see a Hun and it will be on top of a horse. Okay, it's very unusual to see a Hun without a horse. Which are certainly hardy, but so ugly, like refugees. So that's kind of mean to talk about the Huns like that. But that's how he's describing them. All without permanent, so they're like refugees, without permanent settlements, homes, law, or fixed way of life. They are always on the move with their wagons in which they travel. So they're always moving around. They don't have a city, and of course, they're nomads. Like unthinking animals, you see, comparing them to beasts, like animals that don't think. They are completely ignorant of the difference between right and wrong. So again, we're talking about a guy that is in the Roman Empire, perhaps well educated, and he's describing these guys as being savages, as being beasts, as having no education. So it is a different way of thinking. Fired with an overwhelming desire for seizing the property of others, meaning they have a desire to take things of other people or the property of others. These swift moving, these fast moving people and ungovernable people, like you cannot rule them. They make that destructive way amid the pillage and slaughter of those who live around them. So this last sentence, I guess he's trying to talk about the Huns are swift moving and they're ungovernable people, so you cannot govern them. And they're going to cause destruction amid the pillage, when you steal, when you rob things, and the slaughter, the killing, the murdering of those who live around them. So that is the text. Let's take a look now at the questions, okay? So the question I want to start starts simple and becomes complex. The question is, who was Ammianus Marcellinus? So look at here, you find the answer. What words and phrases does Marcellinus use to describe the Huns? So think about all those adjectives that he used. For example, right here in the sentence, right? They have compact, sturdy limbs. So that is the way he's describing them. And he keeps describing them, so there are plenty of adjectives. What does he mean when he describes the Huns as being glued to their horses? What is he trying to say? Do they actually glue themselves with a super glue, gorilla glue? Or is there another meaning to that? Okay. Why might a Roman historian like Marcellinus want to compare Huns to unthinking animals? I mean, they think. So why is he saying that they are unthinking animals? Why do you think he's saying that? What is he trying to establish? And how can he use this document to explain the decline of the Roman Empire? So how are the Huns going to cause the fall of the empire? All right, see if you can find clues on this. And thank you for listening.